The Arctic is one of the harshest places on Earth. A frozen wilderness where survival depends on strength, adaptation, and luck. In the middle of this icy battleground lives one of its most iconic giants, the walrus. At first glance, it may seem slow and awkward, lounging in massive herds with tusks jutting out like ornaments. But beneath that wrinkled skin lies a story of incredible survival, honed over thousands of years. The walrus has thrived in the freezing waters, hunted beneath the ice, and raised its young on drifting floes. Today, its greatest challenge isn't a predator. It's a world that's warming faster than it can adapt. This is a battle between a species and its vanishing home. And in the face of this frozen struggle, you don't have to fight to survive. All you have to do is just explore. At first glance, a walrus might not look like a master of survival. Its bulky frame, wrinkled hide, and whiskered face give it a strange, almost awkward appearance. But every part of the walrus has been shaped by the Arctic, fine-tuned to withstand the cold and the challenges of the sea. Beneath its skin lies a thick layer of blubber, sometimes more than 10 centimeters deep, acting as both insulation and energy storage, a natural shield against the freezing waters. Its long tusks, which can grow up to a meter in length, are far more than just weapons. Walruses use them to haul their massive bodies out of the water, to break through ice, and to establish dominance in their tightly packed herds. Even their whiskers, called vibrissae, are survival tools, sensitive enough to detect the smallest movements of shellfish buried in the dark sea floor. Together, these features make the walrus an Arctic specialist, capable of diving for up to half an hour at a time, holding its breath while rummaging through the seabed for food. In a landscape where almost nothing grows, walruses have carved out a living by adapting to the sea itself. They are perfectly suited to this frozen world, but being perfectly suited is not always enough when the world itself begins to change. For a walrus, the ice isn't just a backdrop. It's the stage on which life plays out. These giants of the Arctic gather in enormous herds, sometimes numbering in the thousands, resting shoulder to shoulder on drifting ice floes or crowded beaches. The ice provides more than a resting place. It's a nursery for calves, a hunting base close to shallow seas, and a safe distance from land-based predators. Each floe is like a floating village where walruses can nurse their young, recover from long dives, and prepare for the next hunt beneath the waves. When the herds are calm, the scene can feel almost peaceful. The slow rumble of calls echoing across the ice, the rhythm of giant bodies sliding in and out of the water. But this harmony hides a constant tension. Walruses are never far from danger. Whether it's a collapsing sheet of ice, the sudden approach of a predator, or a simple shortage of space when too many animals crowd together. Their survival depends on this fragile balance between sea and ice, between the world above and the world below. It's a balance that has allowed them to thrive for centuries, but it's also one that can shatter when the environment begins to shift. In the Arctic, survival is never guaranteed, even for a creature as large and powerful as the walrus. Natural predators roam the icy wilderness, and each encounter is a reminder that strength alone doesn't ensure safety. Polar bears are among the most well-known threats, stalking the edges of ice floes, where walruses haul out to rest. A bear rarely dares to attack a healthy adult. The sheer size and tusks of a walrus make it a risky target. But calves and weaker individuals are far more vulnerable. Out at sea, another hunter waits. Killer whales, highly intelligent and cooperative, can work together to isolate a walrus in the water, surrounding it and striking with deadly precision. In these moments, the walrus must rely on its size, its stamina, and the safety of the herd. Herds often react as one, stampeding into the water or clustering together so tightly that predators have little room to strike. But as dangerous as polar bears and killer whales may be, they have always been part of the walrus's world. These predators test the herd, keeping the balance of Arctic life in motion. The true danger, however, is not found in teeth or claws. It comes from the ice itself, the foundation of the walrus's survival, disappearing faster than these animals can adapt. For thousands of years, walruses have lived in rhythm with the Arctic seasons, moving with the ice as it melts in summer and freezes in winter. But today, that rhythm is breaking. The Arctic is warming at nearly 4 times the global average, and the sea ice that walruses depend on is vanishing at an alarming rate. Without stable ice floes, walruses are forced to crowd onto land in massive numbers, far from their feeding grounds. These gatherings can turn deadly. When startled, herds may stampede, trampling calves beneath the weight of their massive bodies. And when mothers are pushed farther from the sea, they must leave their young behind for longer periods while searching for food, increasing the risk of starvation or predation. The melting ice also means longer swims between feeding areas, draining energy reserves that even their thick blubber cannot always replace. It is not just an inconvenience. It is a life or death struggle. The walrus' greatest survival tools, perfected over millennia, suddenly feel powerless against an enemy it cannot fight. The frozen platform that once gave walruses safety, food, and space is shrinking beneath them. In this battle for survival, the Arctic itself has turned from ally to adversary. Despite the challenges, walruses are not passive victims. They are adapting, testing new strategies for survival as the ice retreats. Increasingly, herds haul out on remote coastlines instead of drifting floes, turning beaches into crowded resting sites. From above, these gatherings look like a living carpet of tusks and hides, stretching for kilometers. But life on land brings new risks. Predators find it easier to reach calves, and food is no longer just a short dive away. Walruses must now swim greater distances to reach their feeding grounds, burning precious energy reserves. In some areas, individuals have been recorded diving deeper than ever before, straining the limits of their endurance in search of clams and shellfish. The herd itself also changes under pressure. Males compete fiercely for limited space. Calves become more vulnerable in the chaos, and even small disturbances, like aircraft noise or human activity, can spark panic, causing dangerous stampedes. These adaptations show resilience, proof that the walrus will fight to endure. But they also reveal limits. An animal designed for a world of ice can only bend so far before it breaks. The question is not whether walruses can adapt, but how long they can keep doing so as their environment vanishes around them. It's easy to think of the walrus as just another Arctic animal, a giant lounging on the ice with little impact beyond its herd. But the truth is, the walrus is far more than a survivor. It's a keystone in the frozen ecosystem. By digging into the seabed with their sensitive whiskers, walruses stir up the ocean floor, unearthing clams, snails, and worms. This constant disturbance recycles nutrients, feeding smaller creatures and keeping the marine food chain in balance. Their presence also sustains predators like polar bears and killer whales, linking the walrus to the very top of the Arctic's food web. Even their waste contributes to the ecosystem, fertilizing waters that support plankton growth, the foundation of countless other species. When walruses thrive, entire habitats benefit. But when they struggle, the effects ripple outward, weakening the fragile balance of life in the north. The walrus is also a cultural cornerstone for indigenous communities who have relied on it for generations, not only as a source of food and material, but as part of their identity and traditions. In short, the fate of the walrus is tied to the fate of the Arctic itself. Saving them is not just about preserving a single species. It's about protecting an entire web of life that stretches from the seafloor to the icy horizon. The story of the walrus is not just about an animal fighting to survive. It's about an ecosystem under pressure, a warning written across the frozen north. The tusked giant has endured predators, storms, and centuries of brutal winters. Yet now, it faces a challenge unlike anything before. As the ice melts beneath them, walruses are pushed to their limits, forced to adapt to a world changing faster than evolution can keep pace. Their struggle is a mirror for our own, because the fate of the Arctic is not isolated. It's a signal of what is happening across the planet. Rising seas, shifting climates, and vanishing habitats connect us all, whether we live beside the tundra or thousands of miles away. The walrus, once a symbol of resilience, is now a symbol of urgency. If these giants of the ice cannot hold their ground, what chance do the rest of us have against a warming world? Yet, there is hope in awareness. Every story told, every voice raised, brings more attention to what is at stake. Protecting the walrus means protecting the Arctic, and in turn, protecting the balance that sustains us all. The question is no longer whether the walrus can survive. It's whether we will choose to stand with it in the fight for the frozen edge of the world.